Hello, my name is Andy and I am the Village Idiot. I'm armed with a car and a GoPro and an unhealthy amount of time on my hands. I'm using that time to attempt to visit every civil parish in England. You're watching the Newark and Sherwood series, a district of 84 civil parishes right in the centre of Nottinghamshire. Come with me as we delve into one of them. Welcome back to Newark and Sherwood once again, ladies and gentlemen. Now for this one, I'm going to be on my own because Nikki and Hannah have both decided to sit this one out in lieu of the fact that the one that comes after this is quite a large one.
Village. Quite a large village.
What else did you think I meant?
I don't know.
Honestly, women. Right, okay, so because of that, I'm going to be walking around this one myself. Now this one's quite small and the start point is literally back there. The church is somewhere behind those hedges, and once I turn around and head this way, I've got about half an hour in front of me and back to the car to complete a circuit of the very linear but very beautiful Thorpe. This Newark and Sherwood video is sponsored by Past Days, a family history blog by June Terrington. You'll find a link in the description. Here's my disclaimer for people who may be watching me for the first time. I say things as I would in my native accent and dialect. As a result, I may not pronounce things in the same way as the locals do. Remember, I'm a visitor. It's impossible to know everything. Leave me a comment, spin me a like and bash that subscribe button. Let's get to today's parish video. If you don't count Meering, which of course has a population of 0, Thorpe is possibly the smallest Newark village so far, and that's saying something. Despite its size, this is a lovely Nottinghamshire village lying to the east of East Stoke, about a mile off the former A46 Fosse Way. It's situated in countryside to the southwest of Newark. It's been referred to in past centuries as Thorpe by Newark. It's got a population of less than 100, although it used to be bigger, albeit only slightly. There's very little out there about Thorpe. Even its entry on British History Online is sparse. It's had a couple of notable residents, one who lived at the old rectory and one who occupied the manor. The former was abolitionist Lucy Townsend, who started the first Ladies' Anti-Slavery Society in Birmingham in 1825. Last week we talked about the Battle of Stoke Field and how Henry VII raised his standard on a small hill called Burham Furlong. That spot is located within Thorpe's boundaries. It only took me 15 minutes to walk from one end of the village to the other, so this might to many be an uninteresting video, yet Thorpe's lack of any real notable information is oddly charming. I still got a lot out of this. Let's have a stroll in the peaceful Newark countryside. Our route around Thorpe is a simple walk from its northernmost point to its southernmost, and that means beginning at the old rectory, where Lucy Townsend lived from 1836. Townsend's anti-slavery society was titled the Birmingham Ladies' Society for the Relief of Negro Slaves. Although slavery had been abolished in the UK in 1807, her society was a model for others in Britain and America which campaigned to end slavery in the West Indies and the US. Both Townsend and her husband are buried here. Her resting place is a large fenced grave to the left of the entrance of St Lawrence's Church, which sits behind the rectory. This is in the united benefice of Farndon with Thorpe and Horton with Cotham. As of 2015, services were being held here every few months. So, for the first time this morning, we can't get into a church. This one is locked. So, yeah, unfortunately, this one won't be explored on the inside. But to be fair, outside looks pretty beautiful and well worth looking at all by itself, to be honest with you. Thorpe's other notable building is this. This is Manor Court, a luxury 5-star hotel. Manor Court is a recreation of a Gothic manor house. I've linked a review of this below. Its front doors are said to have come from a church in London. Its marble floor came from the former Home Ales building in Daybrook, and its external brick was reclaimed from Barnes in Harvey. Moving on now, let's mention Thorpe's other notable resident. Sir John Molyneux lived here in the 1600s. He was once Sheriff of Nottingham. The rest of the walk sees us pass a few farmhouses and some idyllic cottages. Thorpe is pretty much just farmland. Its common lands were enclosed here in 1813. Of course, there are no amenities like shops or pubs. The nearest ones are in Farndon. It does retain a standalone red postbox, and there's a parish notice board here too. Mark it off, guys. So suffice to say, Thorpe is quite a small place, and as such, I'm not many paces away from the end of the village. There's houses on both sides of this road, but nothing really going off it either side. It's just mainly one road, and a very narrow road as well. Once you get sort of beyond this point, this little bend, it becomes a single track road with passing places heading down towards East Stoke. So yeah, a tiny one this, but still has to be covered in the same way as I cover everything else. Beyond this point, you do need to be careful when driving. This is a true rural location, full of bumpy single-track roads and certainly much more suited to farm vehicles than normal cars. On the subject of roads, Thorpe was once connected directly to the A46 via a farm track opposite Manor Court. When the new A46 was built a few years ago, it split that track in half. The parish boundaries are in part water. To the northwest, Thorpe's boundary runs along the River Trent for a short way, and to the southeast, it's the same with the smaller River Devon. This house, by the way, was called the Stables, indicating perhaps there was a hall of some sort here, although a Google search returned nothing. Lastly, we come to Keeper's Cottage, where the road runs off into the countryside. Ideal timing, because really, there's not a lot else to say about Thorpe. And suffice to say, people, that's it. From its northern tip to its southern tip here at Keeper's Cottage. That's where the road runs off into nowhere, effectively, and heads for East Stoke. Lovely. Tiny one. You know, sometimes we do come to ones like this. You know, I like the sort of ones that have got a bit of meat on the bones. You know, the ones that have got shops and other amenities and things like that. Things I can talk about. But equally, sometimes it's nice to come to ones like this where there's practically nothing apart from a few houses, and it's just a nice break from it, I suppose. And there we go. That's Thorpe, people. Now, what I need to do now is ring Nikki, who is going to drive the car down to this point here to pick me up so we can go to our next one. So, yeah, I've been Andy, also known as the Village Idiot. This has been the parish of Thorpe, and I'm out.